Okay, so we're continuing with my upgrades to the Tormach 1100 mil. I just finished up installing the tool changer, and now I'm moving on to installing the SmartCool system and the spindle light. They both kind of run through the same area, so I'm going to do them both at the same time. The SmartCool system allows you through G-code to control the flood coolant, or I have an optional setup that they sell you to do an air blast, so you can switch between the two. You can also change the position within your G-code, so you can really optimize being able to remove chips, especially in a repeatable part situation. But the best part is that it changes based on the tool length. So if you have a short tool, it'll point to where it needs to be. A long tool will point to where it needs to be. You can also set it to your Z0, and you can set it to different offsets, and you can also have it move around. But I've watched a lot of people online, and they, if you have the automatic tool changer, but then you still have to sit here and mess with the flood coolant to get it right during each stage of a machining process, then, yeah, that makes the tool changer a neat thing to have, but it sort of limits what you can do if you still have to stand there and watch it. My goal is to be able to not do that. So I haven't really seen anybody that has posted, other than the Tormach video, on installing one of these or running it outside of, like I said, the Tormach video when they came out with it. So we're going to go ahead and get this thing installed and see how it operates. Well, I wasn't paying attention, and that turned out to be a lot of good video of the back of my head. So we've already got a little bit of this installed, and I see a couple issues I'm going to work on trying to dial in now. Because I have the air blast, which is this other hose here, then we've got the electrical connection from the lighted ring here. This is magnetic that sticks here. I'm going to try to feed all this sort of together through the path, and then up through the line for the power drawbar. The issue, and when I looked at the directions, I didn't really like this, but I can see why they did it, just to save a little bit of money. But the way this connector comes out, the directions seem to say that this needs to be lined up when you have the automatic tool changer, that it needs to be in this position. Well, this doesn't really seem ideal with this right here, with it sticking out. So I don't really know, other than maybe interfering with the sides of the automatic tool changer, why that's going to be an issue. I think they probably just say that. Maybe they haven't set one up with this when they wrote these directions. Who knows? So what we're going to do now is move the tool changer in. After your zeros. And then kind of play with this connector and see where we can take that. I mean, it does seem like I think we can have that much offset there. Let's see. Let's change this. Okay, so that works. That, it's still kind of ugly, but that'll give me enough positioning in order to get that I think out of the way here, so that we're not. I mean, they have some dielectric grease or something inside that connection just to protect it anyway. But having this, I don't think it was intended to ever have this spraying right on it. I'll probably look at other options, maybe put some kind of 90 or do something different on that. Who knows? It's probably one of those things where I'll never come back to it. But I'm going to go ahead and get this thing all plugged up and see if we can get all these wires run. Both of these boxes, this box is magnetic, and the extra solenoid that plugs into this box is also on a base that's magnetic. So basically just going to run this and connect it off the, this feeds the air line that you see here, connects to the other side of this solenoid, and then this just plugs in either off of the, I guess I'll put it before the check valve on the power drawbar across on the back somewhere. So we'll go ahead and get that installed. So here's what we've got on the back. I moved the pressure switch. Basically this is a low pressure safety switch that was over here. Move that so I've got my air in, and then I've got my T going over to the SmartCool. Both these are just magnetically attached to the back. Just kind of move this over here to, it doesn't fit real well in that space, but that seems to work a little better. But this is to give you an idea. And then this is, that's that center plug that I had it plugged into the one of the side ones before, and it didn't operate this solenoid correctly. So you have to have that plugged into the center connection. So now that we've got everything set up, let's make this thing do something. So I've got a project I mentioned earlier where I'm working on a plasma table. I want to drill and tap a bunch of holes with that. So this is sort of a dry run for that. I've already got the tools loaded in for that. So let's go ahead and just use conversational to make a quick little setup that'll spot drill, and then tap a hole. And then we'll go in. I think we'll have to manually edit it and change what the coolant options are in the G code, so that we can watch it as it goes through each tool change at the different heights, and then have it do different things. Okay, so we should be ready to run this. Oh wait, we want to go in and edit the file to put in the different coolant settings. So putting in P0 will point it at the bottom of the tool, and then I mean, if we want to be fancy, let's see. Yeah, that part's. Oh wait, we scrolled all the way down. Okay, so here's our initial one. Okay, so on our drilling cycle, let's do, instead of just doing a normal coolant cycle, we're going to aim it at Z0, so we're not going to add the P0 code, and then we're going to make it move around. So R-2 is supposed to make it oscillate, and then let's just say just for fun, we'll put in a M9 M9 to turn the coolant off, and then we'll do M7 R03 R-3, and then that's going to do that should do an air blast with a wiggle. So we'll do that, and then this M9 will turn that off. And then we'll go down to this coolant one and have that be P0. So that'll stay at the tool tip, but then we'll put an R-1, and I'm not sure, it just says units above the tool tip, so I'm assuming that's inches. So we'll see what that actually translates to. So now when it's doing the tapping, it's going to move around on that cycle. So save that. Okay, let's see what that gets us. Okay, so I've got everything run back to the back. I just stuck those two boxes, the one with the main controller for the SmartCool and the secondary unit with the solenoid for the air blast on the back. Ran into two problems. One was I could not get anything on the SmartCool to work with the version of PathPilot that I was on. That was version 1.9.4, I believe. So I just updated it to 1.9.7, and everything worked perfectly right out of the box. The only, well, I say that, the one thing I could not get was I still wasn't getting the air blast. On the SmartCool, there are 3 ports, little headphone jack, basically mono headphone plugs on that SmartCool box, and there's 3 of them. So obviously the other two are open for future use for something. So I just moved it to the other one until the M7 command made it kick on. I also went through and played with other M codes going up from 9, and haven't found any that seem to work in PathPilot. So I don't know that it's going to be an option to get the use those other ports, at least at this point, to control any other relays or any other pumps or anything like that. So everything's set up. I've got the lights working really, that I really liked having that light on there. I think that's a good addition. I do still kind of think this is a little janky here, but having the SmartCool here, I was able to plumb this up and connect it to the back of this light. So connected to the wire for the SmartCool. So everything's mounted pretty well, and I feel like this isn't going to put any coolant on the electrical section of that. So we can run, just as a test. Heat's coming on right now, so we have to listen to that. So M07 runs our air blast. So we've got that. And then M09 also turns that off. And then if we do M8P0, which is coolant blast at the tip of this tool. So we saw it move right there. And if we do M8, let me get wet here, P1, see it moved up just a little bit. So now we can turn that off. We'll do an M9. Not sure why I did a little air blast there. But I did notice that if you don't do an M9 out of one when you switch to the other, at least I think coming from when I did an air cycle going to coolant, it would run both. And I haven't really thought that through as to whether that could be used for something interesting or not, but yeah, I have to think about that. But for right now, I've got everything going. Let's go ahead and make a little program and see if we can get this thing to run through a couple different tool cycles and just show basically the operation with the tool changer and how having this move the coolant around, works well for us. Okay, so we've got our program loaded. We don't have the first tool in here, so it should do a tool change right at the beginning. But we're going to go ahead and hit cycle start and see what happens. Okay, so that seems to work well. I think my offset I think what happened when I changed my 0 when I was just doing that, I think maybe that adjusted it. So let me make an adjustment here and see if we can rerun that and get it to be more right on the tool tip. Okay, so basically I went in, there's some keyboard shortcuts. You can do Alt-U and Alt-D to raise and lower that angle. So now let's rerun it and see what we get. Well, I would say that was no difference. So let me actually go back and adjust. This is on a bracket where you can move it, and when I first set it up, you know, they tell you to put it right in the middle. Well, it was high, and now I have moved it down all the way to the bottom, and it was working well before, but now with this program it's not working quite where we want it to, so I'm going to adjust it up a little bit. Okay, so we'll run it manually now just to see what it does. So M8, P0, no load. So that didn't really get it, so let's just switch tools and rerun it and see what happens. Yeah, I'm wondering if it's that rotate that I put in that last part with the tap that's causing that, or whether it's the tool length and it's just compensating over that longer distance isn't working correctly. So let's change that and see what happens. Okay, so I went in and changed that. I also changed the second one with the drill from being at Z0 to being at the tool tip to see if with that drill that will move it up. But I left in the movement on the drill function. So let's run it again and see. Well, you know, based on what I'm seeing so far, I think that has something to do with the longer tool, that it isn't compensating correctly. You know, I don't know if maybe it's thinking it's further back, or maybe there's something in the math that's adjustable. I need to go dig back through the instructions and see what we come up with, but I think that'll be a wrap for getting the basic install on this thing done and getting it functioning. Overall, I think it works really well. I can see where it's going to be a definite plus. I do think that I'm going to add a separate function. We'll see how it actually cuts once we get it in material. You know, I still wanted to beef up the coolant system on that. I know that's a very common thing that's done to these, but I'd like to do a system that would be controllable, where you can have a secondary within G-code, whether I have to use the other USB input-output setup that Tormach sells, or whether I'm going to be able to get it somehow out of the extra two outputs that are on the SmartCool box. But I like to be able to have it so that the coolant, the secondary, you know, a secondary super flood coolant, maybe with a second pump, maybe keep the factory pump to run with just the SmartCool, and then run a secondary pump to really flood it when you really need it, and then have that extra layer of controllability when you're writing your code. So all things to play with in another video, but thanks for watching.